All right, yeah. So this next story, Steph, this one is yours because I don't think that Terrance or I, either one of us, would have come up with this one, because we are both very, very happily married. But I'm looking at this story about about this new platform, about this new dating site that I'm glad I ain't in the game anymore. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you might need to have good credit to get a date or a score?
I'm just, and I'm not really mad at it, honestly.
Yeah.
But upon further review, it has become obvious to me that this is, really more so a marketing. I don't want to say ploy, because some people could meet and hook up and get married and live happily ever after with bomb ass credit scores based off this app. However, again, just based off of more further research into the story, this does look like just a very, very good marketing effort on the part of this company. So there is a company, a fintech company called Neon Money Club, which, by the
That
way, has
sounds
a
suspect.
well,
Neon Money
it
Club.
has a black CEO. They're doing big things. They just raised, I think, 10 million in like a series A recently. So it's a legitimate company.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
it's
legit
actually
company.
it's actually lit. They just raised they raised $10 million so far since the company started. But basically, what the app is doing is it's a financial platform that wants to raise awareness and help people with different sorts of financial technical products. But they launched a app called Score, which is a dating app that you have to have a minimum credit score to be on. I believe the minimum credit score is 675. And the whole point of the app is that we need to take and this is with Luke Bailey is the CEO of Neon Money Club. He was quoted in TechCrunch as saying, "We need to take the conversation to areas where finance isn't traditionally discussed. Before you can educate people, you need to get their attention. With Score, we're bringing this conversation to dating because, it sometimes can be an uncomfortable conversation for people to have. You don't want to be on the first date talking about, what's your credit score. However, you do want to, I personally would want to connect with somebody that I knew had some level of financial literacy about them and cared about where their finances were. And this is kind of a way, I think, to bridge that gap. The app is only going to be live for like 90 days from what the article was saying. The app will be available for a limited time. Prospective users must apply to get access. I went on the site. I didn't want to
Get
enter
that
that
hit.
much of my personal information. Well, it said that the checking, they only want the last four digits of your social. They need your name, address, last four digits of your social. They are saying that the check will not impact your credit score. Them, doing the inquiry, they're doing like a soft inquiry, and it won't
Mm-hmm.
impact your credit score. And they're not necessarily trying to match you based on exact credit score. So like, 800 to 800 or whatever, as long as you have a minimum score, you qualify to be on the app, and then y'all can kind of take it from there. But I was like, it's a very novel idea. And listen, I'm not super, super mad at it, although I'm aware that, sometimes communities of color, do fall on not the I don't want to say the lower end of the credit spectrum, but for reasons that have to do with institutional racism, sometimes fall below what their white counterparts end up at. So I think you do maybe lose a few people, on that, because, they did in the article, it did say he was asked about whether or not this was classist to have something like this, that could potentially exclude people from finding true love. But I mean, I'm not getting on it. I'll say all this to say I would not get on an app like this, but I'm also not necessarily mad at it because I see what they're trying to do. What say you?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
So my initial thought on this is like, seriously, this is what y'all doing now. This is what the dating world has come to. But then I thought, I actually have a friend who's now engaged. who has actually used the services of a executive matchmaker, and it was a heck of a lot more than a credit check that they ran on her and then ran on the guy that she's now engaged to. It was a full, it was a full check. It was almost like a FBI level check. They wanted to make, they wanted to know everything. Where you work history. Did you have any, felonies, all this kind of stuff, things that you wouldn't necessarily talk about in your first couple of dates. And I remember having this conversation with her. She said, why would she do that? It's just like, well, I'm in my, at the time she was in her late 30s. And I think she's just now like 40 or 41 and they're about to get married. But she's like, I don't have a lot of time. It's like, I would like to meet someone. And if I can eliminate 3 months of the finding out who you are, to where I can trust you. Cause like, 3 months, that's just 12 days, but that's still 3 months. It's like, do I got to go out with you 12, 15 times before I figure out that you can't hold a job, before I figure out that
crazy and deranged.
Your house is not actually your house. It's your mama's house. And you just happen to live there with her. And you position it as it was your house and she's living there with you. These kind of things I want to know up front because I just don't have time to deal with that. So when I thought about that conversation that I had, with my friend, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see this because like I said, I have not been in the dating pool for a long time. But if I was right now, I'm thinking, yeah, I kind of want to know, do you work? do you have priors? These are the kind of things that I would want to, get to know. And although I'm no longer looking to have any children or anything like that, it's just like, you may not have a lot of time to deal with that 3 to 6 months, just getting to know somebody before you decide whether or not you want to be in a relationship or something. So that's just my thought. I can see it. I can understand it.
It sounds like this app, to me, is in response to a lot of the conversations that I have seen, heard, or just witnessed online, to where money is becoming a big deal up front. I'm not saying it always was. It wasn't a big deal up front, but it seems like more so now. People are starting to be more open about what they expect financially from a partner, from a potential partner, right? We've heard about the $200 dates, and we've heard about where you can and can't, where a man can and can't take a woman
Can't
on
go
the
to the
first date.
Cheesecake Factory.
Can women, the whole thing about, would you date a dude who drives a bus? All these things kind of go around finances, right? So it sounds like, and again, I could be totally wrong, but it sounds like an app like this is in response to those kind of conversations that we're starting to have online as it evolves or revolves around money. My only concern with this is, number one, I'm not sure if credit score is the right metric for you to kind of gauge how somebody is in a relationship as a whole. I know it's just a groundbreaker. I know it's just like a jumping off point, and then you're supposed to find out if that person's a good person, outside of just them being good with money, right? I get that, but at the same time, it's like something like this almost, once you get in, I can see people assuming that, oh, well, this person, I don't know how they show the credit. I don't know if they even show credit scores at all as when you're matching with somebody.
They don't show each
Okay.
other. They don't show the scores to people. You just know that
They
if
have
you got
reached this
accepted,
threshold. Yeah,
you have at least
they've gotten to the
this
threshold of
particular
good
score.
credit. I think
Right.
675 is where
Right.
good credit starts. So
Right.
Right. So I guess my concern is to, and it had to be to the people who are actually using the app, how much better or not is your potentials based off of this number, right? That could or could not be used. I've seen in many cases people with excellent credit scores, terrible people. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, I would hope, I guess ultimately what I'm getting at is I hope that somebody who would use this as a way to find a potential mate doesn't let their guard down because they
Absolutely. It's
perceived that this person is more compatible based off of this credit score thing that revolves around finances, which I get
but
multiple reasons.
it's a
Go ahead.
good way to weed folk out that aren't as responsible as you might be with your
Mhm.
finances. And if we can sort of start, you know, in a place where you're somewhat equally yoked, because when you and like you said, and like to Rob's point, y'all ain't out here on these app streets. Y'all do not see what I see in these app streets. So it's like if you can at least start at a place where you're somewhat equally yoked, and if that means financially, because you both have some sense of financial responsibility, at least we are starting at a place. And yes, I agree with you, Terrance, that yes, you still gotta do the work of getting to know this person for real, for real. But if we can at least start at a point where we are equally yoked in our financial understanding and literacy and goals and things like that, and then we can move forward from there. I mean, that's just one less thing you gotta, hope not to find out about, once you all
Right.
in and you realize that this person, got 12 years of child support on the back end, and and all this other stuff. So it's just, one little way to weed out.
So, Steph, you said at the very beginning that you did not want to call this a marketing ploy by the Neon Money Club.
But it
Neon
is.
Money Club.
So,
Throw
but
it up.
I was gonna
Neon
say
Money
I'm not gonna
Club.
make you do it. I'll go ahead and do it because it's a 90-day trial. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that so one thing we didn't mention, this was actually, they thought this up last year at Afrotech in
Yeah.
Austin. So my gut is telling me that they did this because, okay, you know what? Folks are saying this is what they want. We got all these coders here. Let's figure out, can we put something together to ultimately get more people into the Neon Money Club?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Well, it says
can we
it's
allow people meet each other in the Neon Money Club, because that is an area where they have things that they have in common that they're interested in, and if we can maybe get things moving a little bit quicker by making sure everybody got a good credit score, then let's do it. I don't know that that's what it is, but that's kind of what it
No,
seems
it
like it is,
absolutely is.
and
I'm
I'm
going to
not
read
mad at it.
something to you. Let me read something to you real quick. It says, those denied access to SCORE will be sent to resources to improve their financial literacy and to Credit Builder Grow Credit to help them boost their credit scores. Afterwards, those people are sent back to us to qualify for our products. This is what Luke Bailey
Mm-hmm.
said about the thing. So it is obviously a ploy, and there's a Spotify playlist that is connected to the app with slow jams and all kind of stuff. And then this company, Neon Money Club, actually has
Has other real products.
yeah,
The
they have
real
a
product.
card. They have a collaboration with American Express, and they have a
Mhm.
cream card. And I was like, when I saw a cream, I was like, these better be black people and not just white people trying to capitalize off of Wu Tang. But they have an actual card that is
The
a
real
cream
product.
in color that is an Amex card that they are pushing as well. So it definitely is. It's great marketing. They got some press around it just in time for Valentine's Day. But I thought it was just an interesting experiment in, how people could connect in this day and age.
Yeah. So like I said, this is just me now. I'm making up my whole dialogue in my head. You're at Afrotech. It's like you're having these conversations, probably at a place where there are sudsy beverages that are sold to people only 21 or older. And it's like, man, it's like we should build an app. And this is what they brainstormed.
And had a
as they kept
hackathon
thinking
that
about it, it's
night.
like, you know what? This might actually work. So I'm interested just to go back and see where this is after this 90-day trial runs, because you cannot convince me that if it's not successful, they won't do more of it, because ultimately, like, I think this is to get folks into the back end, and there could be some good on this. It's like, I mean, there are financial advisors who will tell you, it's like, you shouldn't be dating right now. You shouldn't be. You should be working on getting your finances.
Susie Orman would tell you that real quick.
It's like, you know,
stay
you
single
can't
and stay your butt at home.
You know, you can't afford to be married. You can't afford to do this. And, you know, you have $250,000 in credit card debt. You shouldn't be worried about how to get the house right now. You should be, and starting a family right now. You should be worried about how to get out from under all that debt. I'm not saying that that's for everybody, but I do know that is some of the conversation that is out there around finances. So yeah, this is, like I said, you didn't want to say it, I will say it. This is marketing to get you into the Neon Money Club. I'm going to agree with Charles, though. That name is horrible. That name does seem like a pyramid scheme. Neon Money Club. But so many of these types of clubs like this have names like that. But yeah, that does give me a little bit of pause when I just hear the name of it. But looking on the back end of it, it's like, no, this is a legitimate company with actual investors, and they have real financial products. So it'll be real interesting to see where this goes. So speaking of money,